Speaking of up for grabs and a team making a run for 6, 7, 8, the Raiders beat the Eels 12-10 in I thought a really enjoyable high intensity game of footy. Barney, what did the stats say? And then you can kick us off tonight.
Sure. So we had 2 tries apiece, 1 out of 2 conversions for Parramatta and 2 out of 2 for the Raiders. Raiders had a missed field goal attempt. Canberra with 83%. Parramatta with 83% completion. Canberra with 85. 38 out of 46 sets played, 35 out of 47. Parramatta actually ran for 400 plus run meters and 100 plus post contact meters more than what Canberra did. So obviously they were making inroads through the middle. They just couldn't make it count when they needed to. 2 line breaks to 4, 24 tackle busts by Parramatta, 37 by Canberra, 17 offloads to 9, 377 tackles, played 439 for Canberra. 4 ruck infringements to 5, 0 inside the 10s for Parramatta, 1 for the Canberra, 3 penalties conceded to 4, 12 errors to 8. Mahoney made 55 tackles, Young with 55, Papali with 210 metres, Rapana with 261 metres. Brad Arthur and missed 5 tackles, Brown missed 4. Young and Hawira Naira missed 4 apiece. Rapana with 97 Supercoach points, Hawira Naira with 88 and Tapani with 82. And then Isaiah Papali'i with 79. As you said, it was a very good game, but for execution and skill, it wasn't brilliant. But the absolute grit and determination from both sides was really good to watch. It was a really good bash up in the middle. Like Canberra's plan was to obviously come at Parramatta's strength, which is their middle forwards, and their defensive efforts was probably their best one of the season easily. The concerning thing for me with Parramatta was they got beaten at their plan A, and then they didn't have a plan B. They realistically didn't start to tip on, generally if your middles aren't making, they were making the inroads, but they weren't sort of pulling the packs apart. When that starts happening, you have to find another way. You have to start attacking the edges, or you have to start playing bigger shifts. And Parramatta just didn't do it. They just kept going with what their plan A was. So, and at the end of the day, they still had their chances to win the game, but they bombed a couple of tries and made some pretty poor errors at different times, which let the game get away from them, to be honest. But the Raiders' pressure all night for that 80 minutes, they just kept coming. They were flying off their line in defence. They were giving it back to Parramatta in the middle as well. But, and the Raiders' halves, believe it or not, considering that you have a couple of blokes that have been playing a lot of reserve grade recently, they were better than Parramatta's halves. Yep. They were a lot more creative than what Parramatta gave up. So Hodgson and Starling's little combination there, I think they've started to work that out, with Hodgson going back into the 13 role and Starling coming in and making some good inroads in the middle and getting some good fast play the balls, which Hodgson isn't creating for them. But, brilliant performance by the Raiders. They deserve this win.
Ollie?
Yeah, so the big thing for me, I guess what broke the game apart a little bit was Jordan Rapana's performance. One of the best performances he's had in a long, long time, and playing at fullback as well. But yeah, I agree. Like the battle of the forwards, they pretty much, in a way, essentially took the backs out of the game. But because Canberra's backs were just that little bit better, and of course Rapana, again, I bring up his performance again, they were just able to get over the line. The backs just did enough. They pretty much nullified Clint Gutherson's game. He wasn't really able to do anything, and I don't say he had a horrible performance. He just wasn't able to do much, and I don't think we've seen him contained like that for a little while. So that was the big thing for me. But yeah, Rapana was the huge difference maker, because you have these 2 big forward packs going at each other. In the first half, it didn't look like either was gonna really break. But then when Rapana was able to open that game up a little bit, I think it just gave Canberra the advantage to go on with it.
100%, especially given we flagged Rapana at fullback as a concern on the preview show, because his last couple efforts there were not outstanding. What you said about Gutho, well, let's tie it all together in that this was a great game where I don't think stats necessarily told the story, in that a lot of Canberra's meters, the Canberra forwards were the ones that had to get them off the back. They had to get them, they were taking hit-ups from the 70, 80, trying to get them back into the game. I think Gutho, up until about 65 minutes, had only had 40 run meters, so he ended up with 140 or something. But and he nearly got them home. But the Canberra defense was absolutely outstanding, and that's a sort of defense I am convinced they would have beaten 14 other teams in this comp, maybe 15. The way they played, they were hitting people. They were hitting some of the Nathan Browns and Paulos that come off the back fence before they hit the advantage line. They were up and in their face, and they were impressive. And from the middle and sustained. And Hudson Young was leading that. Harold Narak came out of the line a few times with some shots, but across the board, I think that probably the most, you got to say, the most underperforming forward was Papai'i, Canberra Papai'i, and he's still going to. He might end up. He might. His go in life might be the sort of Fafita role in the weekend that you just play him for half an hour and hope he busts open a game at the back end. But Canberra, I was super impressed. For Para, they just got, once they got belted out of the games, their forwards didn't let anyone down, but they had the work to do. I thought Fergo, we didn't mention him. He was outstanding in his first game back. He was Para's best, I thought. He was doing the hard yards. He had his usual couple of Fergo moments, but he single-handedly dragged Para back into the game when they never looked like scoring, and could have had another try as well. Was it him that just missed on one side? Reed was pretty quiet as a result of the forwards not getting the speed through the play the ball. He was pretty quiet as well. I thought there was the absolute game plan. Canberra just decided through great coaching, or whether it was just intent, that is how you beat Parramatta. They've showed people how to beat Parramatta, and we see how Parramatta performed the last few years in semi-final footy, and that felt like semi-final footy. So I guess the last question to both of you, Para now play 5 of the top 6. Where are they actually going to be come finals time? You're still as bullish, and I'm forgiving slightly, but I'm now teetering that they could potentially miss the top 4 now if they get bashed. If other teams are, but a lot of teams aren't capable of it. But if some of these teams playing, where do you see Para fitting, and are they going to just turn into straight sets Para come finals time?
Well, now that they're 4 points off of third, and there's that gap between themselves and South Sydney, it is very unlikely that they're going to close that gap. At most, they might be equal on points, but I don't think I can really see them catching the bunnies there. So, yeah, look, I'd say they probably finish 4th. That's where I've got them. Just Manly, I know, still have to play Melbourne, I believe. So there's at least a loss there. I think Parramatta can probably.
What's in their favour is they probably are going to get a chewed up Penrith team. So they've got Roosters tomorrow, then the hype game, Rabbitohs, who that'll be a really interesting game. Then the Seagulls, who could be hot. Cowboys, if they turn up, could play similar. And then they got the Storm and Penrith to finish. They might win. They might only win one game out of the rest of that run. I'm tossing and turning who to tip in that Roosters game. Even.
But you know what? Just looking at it, possibly, and I get that, Parramatta could also win their next 4.
Yeah.
They have it in them, and they will probably be favourites in 3 out of those 4.
Well, I guess that's my question. So, are you convinced they can, or is it time to hurry off the ship?
I'd personally probably tip them in at least 3 of those next 4 as well. Penrith, I might tip them in. It depends on Penrith really for that one, but I think they can probably finish 4th, and I'd say Manly will probably end up 2 points behind.
Fine.
As you said, they could possibly win one out of their next 5 or 6 games or whatever it is leading into the back end of this comp. The thing, as I said, that concerned me is they didn't seem to have a plan B. Obviously, their kicking game without Moses.
Sorry to cut in, but hasn't Jesse Arthur's now been? I know the forwards had to work overtime. I think Jesse Arthur's has now been well exposed that.
Jacob? You mean Jacob?
Jake Arthur, sorry. That he's a level under. Well, he's obviously a level under Mitch Moses, but I'm not actually sure what he brings ahead of even a Will Smith.
Yeah, as I said, without Moses, their kicking game's an issue. So they're going to need to be running more run meters than the other team every week coming in. As you said, most teams now are going to pinpoint their forwards and try to go through the middle. So if they continually get bashed in the middle for the next couple of weeks, they could drop off dramatically and end up running fifth or sixth, to be honest. Roosters win this week. They're right on the edge of dropping out of the four. And then a couple of weeks later, who knows?
Yeah. Well,
I think they will drop out of the top four, to be honest.
I was much more concerned, and it just hit me that it's Parramatta and finals are looming. And I think a lot's going to be told tomorrow night. But to wrap this up, I went 3 point Hudson Young at 2 points Rapana, 1 Hawirinara or Hodgson, but I could be way off your mark, David.
I had 3 for Rapana. He hasn't put in a performance like that for years, and he was brilliant at fullback. I had who'd I have for 2? I had Hawirinara for 2. Tapani with 2 and Hawirinara with 1. Oh, Tapani was tremendous in the middle.
He was. He's had the best 3 weeks of since semi-final time last year.
Yeah. I'd go Rapana 3, Hawirinara at 2, and then for 1, I probably Tapani. I think that's me personally. So 1's a bit of.
Yep. So 3 Rapana, 2 Tapani, 2 Hawirinara, 1 Tapani. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
All right. 40 seconds, boys. Penalty try, yay or nay?
I didn't think so.
Nope.
I don't think there's much you can do when you're coming across at that kind of speed. He didn't launch like head first at him. He just body checked him, turned his hip. It wasn't a great look, but I didn't think it was a penalty try. No.
Yep. All I'd say is if it had been given one, I wouldn't have been upset. I wasn't upset that it was. And I think that he's probably lucky it wasn't 6 inches one way or the other.